Thanks a lot for coming in.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Something about this community appeals to you?
This is a wonderful place to live.
For Kelowna Now, this is Kent Mulgat. And we're joined by Dr. Moira Drosdevich. You are organizing Vegfest in Kelowna. Tell us all about this event, where it's happening and what it's all about.
Well, I'm one of 5 organizers, right? So myself, Sarah Parsons is our main organizer, and we have Wendy Agner, Karen Stew, and Pamela Merkin. So the 5 of us have taken this on. This is our 2nd year. And last year we had it down at the Rotary Center for the Arts in downtown Kelowna for 2 days. And this year we decided on 1 day, and we changed the location to Immaculata High School.
Okay, so it's called Vegfest, but make no mistake, this is about veganism. You're not going to have cheese and milk.
Well, actually, we are going to have cheese, but just not cheese from a dairy cow or a dairy goat. So we actually have a cheese demonstration, like a workshop on how to make cheese from plants. So we'll have, all kinds of different vendors, at least 70, I think it is now, give or take, with 6 sanctuaries, 5 food trucks, outdoor activities, including yoga, fitness.
Okay, stop right there. There's 5 food trucks that are geared up for vegan.
Yes.
That's something you probably couldn't have said 10 years ago.
No, and they're like 100% vegan, these ones.
So that's great. How is the battle going in terms of winning over the hearts of people to make this sort of change and to take meat and dairy out of their diets? Are more people doing it?
Oh, absolutely. We have on Facebook here in town, we've got a Facebook page group called Kelowna Vegan Supporters, and it started out about a year and change ago, and now it's got 2,200 people on it. So that's a pretty significant number of Kelownites. And we've got our own Vegfest Kelowna Facebook page and website going, and Earth to Table Vegan Market has high attendance at each of their quarterly events that they hold down at the Laurel Building. So we're very much can see that the whole vegan movement or plant-based movement in general is growing in leaps and bounds. And you can see that with all of the corporate food companies like Burger King, A&W, Tim Hortons.
Well, yeah, you see more and more of these big food outlets are getting their version of the Beyond Meat.
Yeah, they might have the Impossible Burger, they might have the Beyond Meat Burger, sausages and so on, but yeah, they're all joining in and making, or either creating their own or buying another one that's already done.
Right. How do you feel about that, the way there are these products being made to really mimic meat? Is that a sort of a good way to get some people
I don't think it's a
started?
problem. Like if people want to taste and or have the taste and texture of an animal-based product that you can get from a plant-based one, then fly at it. I think that's all good.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when people decide to make that lifestyle change, or at least try it out, what do you think the most compelling reason is? Because I see really 3 main ones. There's cruelty to animals that takes place if you're eating meat, because it's hard to do that without something along the way that would seem like cruelty. So there's the cruelty thing. There's the environmental benefit, because we just keep mowing down forests in different parts of the world to graze more animals.
Very true.
So there's an environmental element to it, and there is a health thing, because certain meats have been linked to higher instances of disease. Which of those 3 would you say is the most compelling one?
I would say that probably the cruelty to animals tops the list, and environment is close behind.
Yeah.
If people want to eat unhealthy, have French fries all day long, that's up to them. But if you're by eating a meat-based diet, if you're okay with the murder, so to speak, of other beings, then that's something that I don't think most people would have a problem with.
Yeah, it does seem to me that when you see third countries that we would have called third world countries that are highly populated, that are gaining more resources, if they were to adopt the same sort of rate of meat eating that North Americans have had for the last couple of decades, it does start to become an alarming amount of meat consumption that might be sort of too much for like the Amazon forests to bear.
That's right. So there's lots of times where people will, in different countries like Myanmar, for example, they'll burn down a hillside of trees and plant crops, and the very next season it rains heavily, in that area, and all the crops get washed away. So then you're back to square one with no trees, right?
Yeah.
Which is very sad. But environmentally, animal agriculture, I think it's the UN came out with a statement a couple of years back, maybe now a year at least, where they stated that a global move to a plant-based diet is pretty much crucial if we're going to fight climate change.
Right.
And I know we're going to have detractors and people that say absolutely not. We need the animals to graze the land and give us the manure. But the fact of the matter is only a couple % of animals raised for food are raised in kind of free-range conditions where they have access to the outside, and the rest of them, the other 98%, are factory farmed.
Right. So how is it in, say, BC compared to other parts of Canada? I take it that people are more likely to adopt vegetarian or vegan eating habits here than in other provinces?
It seems that way, but I don't know the exact stats. I did see something recently that 35% of Vancouverites are no longer eating meat, or a very, very small amount of it. So that's
Right.
pretty encouraging. They're still
Yeah.
eating eggs and dairy, of course, so they'd be vegetarian, but the meat part is declining.
Right. So when you do an event like this and people who still eat meat get their eyes open to some of the great foods they can have without eating meat, and they start to adopt it as a greater proportion of their diet, do you see that as a victory, even if they
Yeah.
might not swear off meat entirely?
Baby steps. I mean, most people do not 100% switch from one day to the next. That happens, but it's rare, and that usually takes some video that they watched that was quite graphic, where they started to make that connection with their heart instead of their
Right.
stomach, and just realized how wrong it was to continue with that. So, but for the most part, I would say 95% of people switch slowly. I did. I used to eat meat, dairy, and eggs, and I just kind of dropped one thing at a time, and I think cream in my
Right.
coffee was the last thing to go.
Yeah. And so how do you feel as you go through that process? When you eat less meat, do you crave less meat?
I always just keep in mind the animals. They're always forefront in my mind is the animals, so no cravings.
Right.
If I pass a barbecue smell at somebody's house, it actually kind of makes me get a little nauseous.
But I'm talking about back when you first were making the change. Did you find as you began to sort of push meat aside slowly that it became easier over time to do
definitely,
it less and less?
right? Because and I think you mentioned this when we were talking before the interview, that you kind of salt and season up your meat, right?
Yeah.
So if you start eliminating those seasonings, that salt and so on from your diet, then pretty soon you just don't crave that anymore.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people put sauce all over their meat, whether it's barbecue sauce or some kind
Right.
of sauce, and without that it's kind of boring.
And it is incredible how great a vegan meal can taste even for a meat eater. When you put the effort into making the vegetables the center of a meal, it can be pretty good.
Yeah, Buddha bowls are very popular amongst vegans, which is basically a grain, usually at the base with some vegetables, whether they're raw or roasted, sautéed, maybe some tofu baked, and some edamame beans, a sauce on top that's all maybe made from cashew or lemon tahini. It's delicious. Yeah, I crave those. That's what I crave now.
Now, there are people who will always love their meat, and there's people whose livelihoods depend upon the production of meat. And I think, do you occasionally get people that are sort of angry at
Oh yeah,
your movement?
100%. People are concerned about their livelihood, as they would be when, say, I don't know, wagon carts were taken over by cars and, such. I mean, it all, things change. The phone system, all the rotary phones that we used to have, or radios and all that kind of stuff. Everything changes over time as technology advances and new knowledge comes out. And I think that, a number of dairy farmers has switched over to either some kind of crop, or they have decided to do plant milks. And I've
Right.
heard of some farmers completely giving up their pig farms and switching over to vegetable crops.
Is that happening enough that you would actually see it as a trend?
Well, probably not yet, but dozens have. It's just not making the news. This is, you can find these things generally on Facebook, on different Facebook pages like Live Kindly, is one of them, and plant-based news is another. So they always have stuff like this coming up.
Right. So your goal would be to see everybody become
Yeah,
a
I mean,
vegan.
everybody has a little vegan part of them because all of us eat plant-based foods, whether we think we do or not, right? Like a piece of toast with peanut butter is plant-based generally,
Right.
unless there's egg in the toast or something like that. But for the most part, it's just a matter of coming out to enjoy the food, which is all very good. We've got about 8 at least speakers or presenters that have different topics that they're talking about that are very informative. We have workshops and demos that are going on, I think about 8 of those. Live music and outdoor activities like a drumming circle.
So for people that are thinking about doing this sort of a lifestyle change, there might be some good opportunities for them to talk to people who have and kind of feel it out in person.
We're not like these in-your-face vegans at this event. It's just simply trying to encourage people to change their paradigm, look at animals differently, try and make a heartfelt connection with animals, and like right now we're both wearing plant-based garments and shoes, right? There's nothing leather or fur in us,
right?
And so we can all do that on a daily basis. We don't have to go find the leather belt or the leather purse. We can choose a cruelty-free option, or when we buy makeup or other toiletries at the stores, we can look for the ones that have the little bunny on them and go cruelty-free, right?
Right. Okay, so that's May 26th.
Yeah, May 26th.
At Immaculata?
At Immaculata High School on Kelowna Road, and entry is by donation, so there's no cost. It's not like an admission fee. We're just asking donations for the 6 animal sanctuaries that we have represented there, all of which are on our website, vegfestkelowna.com. And I just want to let people also know about Vegan Awareness Week. So we have Mayor Bazran is going to, next Wednesday at 10 a.m., he's going to proclaim Vegan Awareness Week. First time in Kelowna for sure, and probably the country, but BC anyway. And we're going to have a little event down there at City Hall at 10 a.m. with him reading the proclamation. So you're more than welcome to come down and check that out. And as part of that, there's probably about 30 businesses anyway so far that have agreed to do some kind of Vegan Awareness Week discount at their business.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much for coming and telling us about it.
You're welcome.
Dr. Moira Drosdevich, Moira, and thank you for watching Kelowna Now.